Welcome, everyone. It's Chad Bergman with Movement Mortgage. I am coming to you as an interview with Derek White with UpEquity. Derek has a really neat program to address one of the major concerns we have today in our market. And it gives a lot of opportunity for people who are looking to sell, move up, and be basically non-contingent and have all the upside of buying another property. Welcome, Derek.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, again, please tell me more about yourself, your company, and I'll probably bring up a slide to kind of frame up what we're talking about.
Sounds good. My name is Derek White. I'm a strategic partner manager with UpEquity. I've been selling this buy before you sell program that we're going to talk about in the Georgia market for the last year and a half or so. I can tell you firsthand that realtors love this program because it helps get their clients and your clients much more competitive with the offers that they make. We've been able to pull a lot of clients off the sidelines, get them in the game where they were struggling to coordinate a sell and then a buy on their own. We kind of take that burden off of them, make them much more competitive, as I said, and create transactions where there otherwise wouldn't be. So in essence, the way this program works is for your clients who have a house that they need to sell prior to purchasing a new home, if they qualify for our program, they'll be able to put in an offer on the new home without the need to include a home sale contingency with that offer. So as you know, it's going to make them much more competitive, much more likely for their offer to be accepted. Ideally, the client's going to leverage this program to get under contract to purchase a new home. And assuming that between contract signing and the closing date for that new home purchase, assuming that the client's not able to find a third-party buyer to step in that time frame on their own, a day or two prior to the new home purchase closing date, what we're going to do is essentially give an interest-free bridge loan to the client. It's going to be an equity advance against the equity in their old home to use for down payment on the new home and or renovations for their old home, however they want to utilize that money. In addition to that, we're going to put a binding offer on their old home free of any contingencies so that the underwriter for the new home purchase does not have to count the old home mortgage payments in the DTI for calculating that new home purchase transaction. Now, this is for conventional or conventional and most jumbo programs. If you look at the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines, they do not require that old home to actually be sold in order to omit those payments in the new home purchase calculation. Instead, as I said, they require a binding contract on the old home free of contingencies, and that's what we're going to do. In addition to that, we're going to put the equivalent of 6 months mortgage payments for the old home into an escrow account. And we're going to make the mortgage payments each month for the old home, the old mortgage, on behalf of the client, because even though they may be able to afford two mortgage payments, two housing payments at the same time, as far as an underwriting standpoint, doesn't mean that they can afford it in their household budget. So the old home mortgage payments get taken care of each month by UpEquity, and the client can focus just on paying their new home mortgage payments, and then we'll continue to do that until that old home is sold. Any questions about that?
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's again coming 2-year program, again, I think we're going to walk into this question, but kind of what things does a homeowner have to do to kind of qualify for the program? What would be kind of the optimal scenario, or kind of the initial buyout on that first?
So for the client's going to fill out, or you're going to fill out on behalf of the client, a very simple form. We want information about the old home, as well as the mortgage tied to that old home, and the price point on the new home that they're going to be purchasing. Don't think of this as a mortgage application that you're filling out for your client. It's not that intrusive. We're not pulling credit. We're not collecting docs in order to get a proposal to your client. Once you submit that form, fill it out, and then between around 24 to 48 hours, we're going to have a proposal for your client. And we'll present it to you first as the referring LO. And then with your permission, we would present it to the client on a 3-way call with you included on it. As far as what we're looking for, so this is not a one-size-fits-all program. If you had a client who bought a house a year ago and put minimum money down, this is not going to be a good fit for them. What we're looking for ideally is, I'd say about 20% or more equity in the old home in order to utilize this program. I'm sure out there in Colorado is very similar to the market I see here in Georgia. There's a big pool of homeowners out there right now with this kind of equity who can utilize this program.
Mm-hmm. And tell me again, because a lot of times other programs that are offered like this sometimes do not include the agents that homeowners are using. So can you just touch on again, what the company position is for using the agents that are already in place?
Yeah. So we're not, UpEquity is not a brokerage, and we're also not a mortgage company.
Okay.
We work with the client's agents. The agent, for an agent, their client utilizing this program, the agent's not going to be out $1 for this program. So we protect the agents. We need the agents on board with this program, or quite frankly, it's not going to work. It's not going to scale. Agents are, as you know, driving this business, and we're going to keep them happy. And they're not going to be out $1 for their clients utilizing this program.
Yeah, that's huge. And again, you still have that relationship between the homeowner, the agent, and again, everyone is on the same team versus bringing someone from the outside who's maybe trying to force a sale, that a fire sale or something that's shorter, that isn't to the benefit of the homeowner.
Yeah. And let me add one thing, as far as us not being a mortgage lender. All of the other companies that are in this space that I know of have their own mortgage company. We do not. So we're not going to try to steer your client to our mortgage company with crappy service and crappy rates. We work with any third-party lender, Movement Mortgage, whoever, and there's no penalty for your client, obviously, for using a third-party mortgage company. With some of the competition out there, they'll allow it, but they'll penalize the client in the form of a higher fee charged for using an outside lender. That's not us. We're strictly focused on your client's old home that they're selling and taking care of that home in order to free them up, the client up, to be able to purchase this new home as competitively as possible.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, you also sent me this this kind of scenario, and maybe if you could walk us through what a transaction might look like when, again, UpEquity would help someone cash out of their old home and buy up into a new property.
Yeah. So this is a real life scenario that helps kind of put everything into context for what I've described so far. So if you focus just on the top half of that of that flyer. In this scenario, we're saying that the old home is listed for $500,000. There's an existing mortgage on it for $250,000, and the existing monthly payment is $1,500. Shift to the right, new home in this scenario, the purchase price is $600,000, and then just for argument's sake, we're saying that the client is planning to put 20% down on that property. So shifting back to the left where it says trade up plus equity advance. Let me elaborate on this because I haven't touched on it yet. UpEquity, as I said previously, is going to put an initial purchase contract on the old home, the client's home that they're selling. Your client will ultimately realize full market value for the sale of their home. And I'll touch on that. I'll expand on that a bit in a minute. The initial purchase price is going to be a below market price, and every property is evaluated independently. I can tell you on average, it's going to fall between 75 to 85% of that list price.
Okay. In
this scenario, if we were to purchase your client's home, that initial sale to UpEquity would be $425,000, which is outlined there. That's roughly 78% of the list price in this scenario. So given that, 425 minus the $250,000 existing mortgage is where we come up with an equity advance amount of $175,000. All right, and I'm going to come back to that 425 purchase price in a minute. We haven't talked about the fees yet, so let's talk about it now. The fee that we charge once we intervene, once we front this money to the client, the equity advance, is 1.9% of, and it's based off of the higher of the new home purchase price or the old home list price. Okay. So in this case, the higher of the two is that $600,000 purchase price. 1.9% of that is that 11,400 number. Mm-hmm. Your client, as you can see here, does not stroke us a check for this amount. Instead, it is netted out from the equity advance amount that we're fronting your client. In addition to that, we also, as I said before, the equity advance is interest free. However, we do charge a 2% origination for that, just for the equity advance amount. So 175,000 times 2% is that $3,500 number. Mm-hmm. So we start at the 175 equity advance. We've netted out those two costs. As you move down that left-hand column, you'll see the 6-month reimbursement. That's where I said we're going to put the client's money. We're going to net it from this equity advance amount. We're going to put $9,000 into an escrow account each month until that home sells, the old home sells. We're going to make those monthly payments on behalf of the client so that they can focus solely on budgeting for that new home mortgage payment that they will have at this point. Okay. If the house sells after 60 days and say we only use $7,500 or we only use $1,500 of that $9,000, then that's going to be $7,500 check that your client will receive from us. So that $9,000 is their money held in escrow, and once the home sells, the old home sells, whatever amount is left is going to be paid directly to your client. You follow me on that?
Yeah, no, I see it line by line. That's good.
Okay. So in this scenario, the walking away money that your client has to use for down payment on that new home is that 1,051, that 151,100 number.
Okay.
All right. Again, can be used for down payment on the new home or renovations on the old home or some combination of both. So we're fronting them this 151,000. 2 days later, they buy their new home, they move in. So at that point, the agent has this old home that has been vacated so that they can have showings 24/7. They can stage the old home. Ideally will help them sell it quicker and at maximum price. So moving to the right-hand column of this flyer, we're saying in this scenario that the old home sells within 60 days of the client purchasing the new home.
Okay.
We're also saying that it's sold right at $500,000, which is what we had estimated up front. It's just easier for training purposes. Those commissions and closing costs, very important, are not net new costs. That's primarily made up of the agent's commissions. We're assuming 6%. And then we're for this example, we said there's another 1% in seller related costs that the client incurs, like prorated taxes, prorated HOA, whatever the normal seller costs are.
Sure.
So that's what that $35,000 amount is. Once that house sells, then the old mortgage is paid off. That's that $250,000 number. UpEquity is paid back for our equity advance. That's where we're netting out the 175 figure. So in this example, we're saying that the client nets an additional $40,000 on top of the 151 that they walked away with on the front end of the transaction.
Okay.
So combined, the client's getting $191,000 roughly from this transaction. I'll tell you that this is a clean, easy, nice and tidy example. They're not all this clean. They're not all this easy. It's just easier for training purposes to put together a clean example rather than a really messy one. Let me just say, getting back to that initial UpEquity purchase price. So once the client purchases their new home, there's a 6-month window for the client to sell the old home.
Okay.
Most markets, that's plenty of time.
Yep.
However, let's talk worst case scenario, because I know everyone likes to talk worst case scenario. Fast forward 6 months after the client purchases their new home, and the house still is not sold. So UpEquity will execute on our purchase price of $425. At that point, with that transaction, the old mortgage is paid off. We are paid back our equity advance. However, we're not done there. Again, we're not an iBuyer. Your client's not going to, lose 10 to 15% of their equity through our transaction. The client will ultimately get full market value for the sale of their home. So once we execute on our $425 price, their agent will continue to list that home to be sold a second time at full market value. Whether they continue to list it at $500,000, or at that point they're going to lower that listing amount, that's going to be up to the client and their agent. The client has control of that listing, even though we are the owner of record at that point.
That's huge.
Okay. So once that house sells that second final time, then the client, per their agreement with UpEquity, has the right to those net proceeds from that second sale. So again, the combined of which equal the combined of those two sales equal full market value.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Yeah. And again, for a seller to control, again, how to market their house, when to sell it, how to gauge the market, it keeps them in full control. That's great.
Yeah.
I want to say too, with the second installment, the $40,000 payout in this example, Derek, what I love about our conventional mortgages is that we have a recast feature.
Yep.
So it's something that is utilized quite often in a situation like this, where you have additional cash to put down on the mortgage, but you don't want to go through a true refinance because, let's say, rates are the same or even potentially higher. Then we have an option to basically apply that additional principal, pay down the mortgage, and then basically reset the P&I payment, and that's called a recast. And we do that all the time here at Movement.
Yeah, I agree, Chad. The recast option is a big sell for this program. It's definitely, it's something we talk about a lot, and you're 100% correct to point that out.
Well, good. Well, I think this is a great overview of your program. I think again, what we find is, again, everyone is going to come in with a different scenario, a different set of problems, a different goal as far as what they want to move up to. And again, this may not even be an opportunity to move up. There might actually be a downsizing opportunity too.
Yep.
Again, someone who maybe has it's an empty nester home, or someone who's looking to downsize for different reasons, has all this equity in the home. But again, because of the market and to be really a non-contingent buyer, this gives you the option to do that. And what I love, Derek, is that, again, you can pull the trigger on this once you're pre-approved, or you can go down the road of trying to sell your property as a contingent property. But again, UpEquity will basically cash you out a couple days before closing if necessary, and you have the approval in place.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great program, Chad. We're just trying to spread the word. So I appreciate you having me on here.
You bet. Well, again, we'll love to get some people to talk to you. Can you tell me quickly what's the best way to reach you?
The best way is I'd say my cell phone, 678-778-2921. My email is Derek, DEREK .White, WHITE, at UpEquity.com. I'll say that if you have a client that you think even might be on the fence, it's no problem for my team to put together a proposal for your client. And again, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. We'll put together the proposal based on the information you provide. Either the client loves it and we're moving forward, or the client says no thanks, and we part ways. It's just not a lot of time and energy that goes into putting these initial proposals together. So if you have one that you think might work, just send it to us. Let's show you what we can do.
Sounds good. Well, I'm going to share this with my clients, again, who I know, might have an interest in moving. But again, besides rates, which we can't do anything about today, the other hesitation is trying to, again, buy a property and the timing of that. And again, the convenience of this, because you can buy another property and move, without trying to do a double move, or the timing of, say, trying to move everything in 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, it's a great program, helping a lot of people.
Good. Well, again, I appreciate the information, Derek, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Chad.
Okay, thanks.